Good morning, this is Tom Martin with 1% Health. You can visit my website at www.1percenthealth.com. That's 1% spelled out. And today I'd like to show you how to make fermented vegetables. There are many reasons to ferment your own vegetables. The first is that there's a historical aspect of it. Almost every society had their form of fermented vegetables. The Germans had sauerkraut. The Koreans had kimchi. The reasons to ferment were many. The first was to preserve the vegetables through winter. So they always had access to some vegetables. It's also very important, interestingly enough, to eat fermented vegetables anytime you eat pork, because pork is so similar to the human body and the enzymes and so forth. For some reason, eating the fermented vegetables at the same time helps your body separate the two, so that some of the aspects or processes of the pork don't get into your system. Fermenting vegetables also helps you get more nutrition out of the vegetables that you ferment. It actually sort of like pre-digests them, breaks them apart, breaks them down slightly, and you actually get a greater benefit from eating them this way than you do raw or even lightly cooked. Fermented vegetables are also very rich in probiotics, the essential bacteria that your gut needs to function properly. If your gut is not functioning properly, it's not fully digesting the foods that you put into it, and this can lead to a variety of skin diseases such as eczema and psoriasis, acne, rosacea, as well as autoimmune diseases such as lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. When fermenting vegetables, you always want to start off with a base of either green or red cabbage and celery. Since both have a very high water content, you'll be able to get a lot of brine off of them. To that you can add a variety of vegetables such as cucumbers, carrots. I use daikon radish, and I also put garlic in because there's so many health benefits to garlic. Here's a batch that has been completed. This is sat the appropriate amount of time and has been refrigerated. And this is the type of jar that I normally use while the vegetables are fermenting. So I'm going to start off by chopping up the vegetables, and we'll go from there. Okay, I have all my vegetables chopped up. One thing I wanted to add about the vegetables is be sure to use organic vegetables. And the reason behind this is that non-organic are often sprayed with herbicides. So the herbicides in the fermentation would kill the bacteria, so you're defeating the whole purpose of doing this. Another thing, a little interesting fact, is that why you want to do this yourself rather than to go to other sources for probiotics is 1/3 cup of homemade fermented vegetables has more probiotic bacteria in it than an entire bottle of 100 capsules of probiotic capsules. I read an article this morning that seems to link in children the absence of probiotic bacteria in their gut, as well as the eating of gluten, that often can lead to type 1 diabetes. And, sorry. Oh, I'm reading the cue card, I have trouble reading it. Anyway, I've chopped the vegetables up small, and the reason for that is, especially in the cabbage and the celery, is so that we have a lot of surface area exposed. I'm now going to add salt. I use natural sea salt. Do not use Morton's or any store-bought. I do sprinkle about 3 generous tablespoons of the salt onto the vegetables. 3-ish. And then we want to just gently mix that around and expose the vegetables to this. And once you've done this, you just want to leave it sit for about an hour. And this will let the salt do its thing and start to break down the vegetables, and they will start to render liquid. So we'll be back after an hour. Okay, we're back. Our mixture is sat here for an hour in the salt, so it's starting to break down a little bit. And this process is done best with your hands, clean preferably. Is we're going to go in and we're going to start just squeezing the vegetables to again help rend out the liquid that's in there. While I'm here having a good time doing this, I'll show you a little bit. These are the jars that we're going to use. They're the kind with the lid and the little clasp. I've taken the lids off, which I'll show you why in a bit. And the next thing I want to show you is it's good to have is like a stomper. And here's mine. This is custom made for me by my uncle. If you're interested in one, I'm sure he'll make you one too. Just contact me. Very helpful in making fermented vegetables. So that's pretty good. Got a nice little pool of liquid at the bottom of the bowl. So now we'll start packing them in to the jars. So get some in there, get our stomper here. And you just want to get it packed in real nicely. And again, another point is again to get more of the liquid out, the brine. Ideally, you want the brine to be higher than the vegetables. So pretty much I've got it right at that level right now, but because of all the liquid that's still left in the bowl, I'll be able to top it off. And if there's still not enough, you can add a little more water to it. Now to start the fermentation, this will happen naturally, but to kind of move it along and turn it into lactofermentation, I'm going to use whey. Now I also make my own yogurt, and so I always have plenty of whey floating at the top of my yogurt. What you can do is, even with store-bought, you can take it and place some in a paper towel or a coffee filter and set it over a glass or a mug, and the liquid that drips through the filter is whey. And you don't need to add a lot, just 1 or 2 tablespoons per jar, and that will cause fermentation to begin. Down to the dregs here. So I'm going to add a little the extra brine into here. It's nice and wet and juicy. And this is my whey. What I did was I took a coffee filter, put some yogurt in it, just put a rubber band around the cup and let it sit. So I'm just going to add a couple tablespoons to each jar. You don't really have to mix it in. We'll just start the fermentation process on its own. It's good when you're fermenting to let it breathe a little bit. So instead of putting the lids back on, I'm going to use a paper towel and secure it with a rubber band. And you want this to be in a fairly warm environment, like 76 degrees or more. So if it's winter in your home and you're in a colder region, one place that you can keep it that it maintains a fairly good temperature is in your oven with the light on. Of course, it's going to take up your oven space, but it's better than trying to find other spots. I'm not using a big enough paper towel here. Anyway, you want these to sit for about a week. And at that time, you can remove the paper towel and the rubber band, put your lids back on, refrigerate it, and then you have your own fermented vegetables to eat. Try to get a 1/4 to 1/3 cup into your system every day. You'll find that you have more the benefits are so great. I ask you to, if you want to read more about it, to get my book, Just Do This One Thing, A Guide to Chronic Good Health. I have a whole section on just gut health, making fermented vegetables. It has my recipe, the vegetables that I use, as well as other things that you can do to become healthier. Thank you.